and welcome to the Romance Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail C. Martin, and tonight we are talking about Korean and Asian romance, which is near and dear to my heart because I'm a total fan. I can't wait to see what everybody has to say, but before we dive into it, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Trish.
Oh, hey, I guess I'm first. Hi, I'm Trish Milburn. I actually write K-pop romance series and a K-drama novella series, so I'm really looking forward to this panel.
Very good. Layla?
Hi, I'm Layla. I write a little bit of everything. I've got rockers and bikers, and my Asian characters and Asian American characters are just kind of sprinkled in all through my rocker boys and biker boys stuff. So I'm looking forward to this.
Very good. Synithia?
Hey, I'm Synithia Williams. I like to write messy, soapy, contemporary romance. Love watching K-dramas and Chinese dramas, heavily influenced by my love of soap operas growing up, watching them now. I have not attempted to try to write a K-drama inspired romance yet, but I have several ideas in the hopper.
Very good. Seressia?
Hi, my name is Seressia Glass, and I write rom-coms and paranormal romance, as well as urban fantasy. I do have an idea for a rom-com with a Korean male lead, and hopefully I will be able to write that and get that out there.
All right. Maya?
Hi, I'm Maya Preisler, and Asian romance is near and dear to my heart because my debut novel is a book with a love interest who is Chinese and a main character who is also of Asian descent. So I'm very excited to talk about Asian romance.
Awesome. And I'm Gail C. Martin and Morgan Brice. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male romance. I have not yet attempted to write a K-drama or a K-romance, but I am a total fan, got the t-shirt, and I've got a long list of things to talk about. So I'm definitely an obsessed fan. Before we dive into just, getting into all the wonderful stories that we love, let's talk about where we watch these things. So, Trish, where do you consume your Korean and Asian romance?
Mainly two places. The Viki streaming app, which is all Asian content. They have dramas from Korea, China, Thailand, Japan, the Philippines, probably some other stuff sprinkled in there too. And then also Netflix is having more and more K-drama content, and even Prime and some of the other streaming ones have, they're fewer in number, but they're kind of coming on board too.
Okay.
I started out with Drama Fever, which was a streaming service that I had before Viki, and then until it up and just went away one day.
That happens. Layla?
Streaming services. I live in the middle of nowhere, literally, Midwest US. So streaming service is about the only way I'm going to get anything in. I do on occasion get my hands on videos though when I travel, so that's always cool to build a very small video collection. I kind of didn't start with K-pop though. I started with anime. I grew up overseas. My folks were military, so I grew up on Guam, and the anime that I grew up with from the 80s was kind of my inspiration when I started writing, because I like to write fantasy and shifters anyway. So I got into the drama later.
Okay. For people who are watching this and have never really noticed K-pop, which services do you find your stories on?
For me, I go to Netflix and Prime. That's pretty much what I have.
Okay. Synithia?
Like Trish, I do Viki. I mostly just watch Viki all day long. Netflix as well. I like the translations on Viki a lot better than the translations on Netflix. I think they're just explain a little bit better and more in depth. I've checked out some things on Prime. I've tried YouTube for a couple of the Chinese dramas I can't find, and I'm holding out on subscribing to iQIYI. I kind of want to subscribe. There's some C dramas over there I really want to watch, but I said I was going to save some money in 2024, so I haven't signed up just yet.
Okay. Seressia?
Well, there are a couple of channels on Roku that I've watched, and that's kind of um, how I've found series. And then I go and go onto Viki and try to find the series and watch the whole series there without the commercials. I also like I have Netflix. I also do IQIYE. I'm not sure how you
IGE,
pronounce that.
IG,
IGE.
IG.
IG. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so I have that one as well, and that's how I found some of my favorite boy love dramas on there.
Very good. Maya?
Pretty much the same as everybody else. Viki, Netflix, YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, Netflix was kind of our gateway drug. And then I started hearing about things that weren't on Netflix. So we went to Rakuten Viki. And then I had to go see one series in particular that was on, and I guess you folks have said it's pronounced Aichi, but it looks like IQIYI. Just so if you're looking for it, because I would never have thought it sounded like that. I've been spelling it all this time. So and Netflix has a lot of kind of the bigger, more popular, more kind of mainstream stuff. And then, as folks have said, Viki carries a lot broader of a range, and Aichi
IGE.
Aichi carries from even more countries and tends to have more of the male romance, especially from Thailand. So, and there sounds like there are other sources out there too. But if anybody's with us and wondering, well, this is great, but where do I find these things? Now you know.
Yeah.
So,
And now I don't have this one, but I do know that if people are into the BL dramas, there is another streaming service called, I think it's called Gaga Ooh La La or something like that. That's all that they have, I believe.
okay, good to know. So I'm sure we all have long lists of things we want to talk about. But let's do one show each when we go around so that everybody gets a chance to jump in the conversation. But I'm going to start with, what was your first Korean or Asian drama that got you hooked? Trish?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, how I got into it was actually a C drama, and I have just blanked on the name of it. I should have written this down. Phooey. I don't know. It was a C drama that just sort of got recommended to me on Netflix. I don't know why it got recommended to me, unless it was just, I don't know. It just did. And so I watched that, and then after that, it offered up a K drama, and then it just sort of like, okay, I like these, and it just kind of down the rabbit hole it went. And now that's mainly what I watch. I will watch the occasional American thing or British thing, but mostly it's Asian content now.
Okay. Layla?
Yeah, trying to remember the name of one. No, that got me hooked. Not off the top of my head. They were just where I grew up. We learned 4 languages to start with, so watching the dramas on TV was a good way to like practice language. And then when I got back to the States, I wanted to keep some of that up. So when I can get content, I do try to keep up. I'm sorely lacking on most of my languages now that I'm in my 40s. But no, it was all about just flipping through channels and sitting there. Same with when I was learning Spanish, put on Telemundo and be like, okay, I'm trying to follow along. And
Awesome. Synithia?
I know exactly which one it was. So even though a friend got me to watch Boys Over Flowers, that was not it. It was Ashes of Love, the C drama. When I watched that on Netflix, I was hooked. It was my ringtone from for 2 years. I listened to the soundtrack after the show ended. That's how I know I really love it, when I just go and find the soundtrack and listen to the music. So that was it. And then I just kept watching more Korean and Chinese dramas after that one got me hooked.
Very good.
Yeah.
Seressia?
Way back there used to be a channel here called AZN, and they played what was it called? Fated to Love You. and that was my first time being able to, because of course, like Layla said, I started with anime, and then kind of fell into the dramas. So Fated to Love You was the first one that I saw, and then the channel went away, and then I got desperate, and then Gail hooked me up with recommendations for various streaming services, and I have them all except for the Ooh La La or the Google La La, whichever one
The
that
one
is. I
that
don't
the
have
name's
that
like
one.
this long. I did
Right.
find the name of the one that I started with, thanks to my drama list. It was The Rise of Phoenixes, starring Chin Koon.
Oh, that was
I
a
did
good one.
watch some of that.
Okay, Maya?
I also started off as a teen with anime, but I think in adulthood, there were two pieces that really hooked me. One was a movie in Cantonese called Lavender, and the other one was a C-drama called Ice Fantasy. And that was the first one that I saw that was truly sort of Lord of the Rings, high fantasy, Shansha level with crazy battles and beautiful costumes, and I was hooked.
My adult kids are really into anime and manga, but one of our daughters especially likes the K dramas, and so she recommends them to us because we have similar taste. My big thing is you got to have a happy ending. Got to have a happy ending. And I think the one that got us hooked is not exactly a romance, but it's got romantic elements in it sometimes, and that is Hotel Del Luna. It's an absolutely beautifully told story. And since I love paranormal everything, I tend to gravitate toward the paranormal romances, and there's an awful lot of them because you start factoring in reincarnation for people, and you have all kinds of opportunity for complicated love stories. But I think Hotel Del Luna was the one that just got us hooked and said, yeah, I like this stuff. Let's find more of it.
Yeah.
It
And
was so
IU
good.
had fabulous outfits in that too.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the
She did.
clothing.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
It doesn't hurt that she's beautiful too. So
There are, I mean, actors and actresses are prettier people than the normal people, but I swear they have even prettier pretty people in K-dramas.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, my gosh, everybody's just gorgeous. But all right. So what is it about Korean and Asian dramas as opposed to maybe Western dramas or romances that appealed to you? Trish?
there were a few things. The one was that there was such a huge focus on romance. And I actually wrote an article about this recently, and it was because like such a high percentage of the screen and script writers in Korea are women, much higher than in the United States. Yeah, I think it was, I can't remember the figure, but it was, I don't know, like 80-90% or something. I mean, it was like really large. It was kind of the exact opposite of here. Another thing is I love costume dramas. I always have ever since I was a little girl. And even going back to then, like in the 80s, if anybody remembers like those mini series that they would have on TV, like Shogun and Marco Polo. And I think about like several of them were Asian set, and I just I don't know, even as a kid I just latched onto those. I was fascinated. And then the third thing was and this is changing a little bit with the Netflixification of K-drama, but I liked the one season and done. There were so many stories, you know, shows over the years where either it went on way longer than it should have, or it got canceled and you were on a cliffhanger and you never got to hear how the story ended, and it just made me mad. But I liked how in K-drama, you know, typically there was about, you know, 16 episodes, and so the writers were able to know where the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story was, and they could write the arc appropriately. Again, now with Netflix, you're getting more of the kind of two or three seasons things, but it all ends up kind of being the same amount of episodes, because if you have 2 seasons of 8 episodes, it's the same as your, your typical 16. But and there has been one instance of a K-drama where we were left on a cliffhanger and we've never gotten the end of the story. And it made me so mad because it was what I didn't like before, and it was Vagabond. I want to know the end of that story.
All right, Layla.
It's funny. I remember friends of mine in college running back to the dorm room because they had to get to One Life to Live. I don't know what it was about that show, but I mean, people would run people down on campus just to make sure they were in their dorm room to watch that show. But for me and my friends, I don't even remember who got a hold of Sailor Moon in the original language. That's what reran back. We had a set time. We were binging. The tape was going in. Butts needed to be on the floor or in the seat, and we were going to be watching episodes of this. Half the time, you couldn't. Somebody's over there with a dictionary trying to figure out what's going on. It's hilarious. We're making jokes about it, but that never went away. Just having that vibe and sitting there, and that was kind of what I looked for, is that like you're watching this story unfold with all these layers. And I think sometimes with American programming, you get a story and you get one dimension. You don't get all these layers that go into it and all this backstory and how these characters are related. And I think that, in the K-pops I've watched and the C dramas and stuff, you'll see that the writers take the time to not only create the backstory themselves, but share that with the reader. Thanks. Like, I know as a writer, I might go through and create a whole backstory for my characters, but my readers are maybe only going to get like this tiny chunk of it. But in these shows, we're seeing it's like plot twist, and these guys were, they're brothers or they're, half brothers, and the moms are feuding, and it's crazy things you would never think of that aren't generic. And that was what I loved about it. It was fresh and it's new, and they're not the same old tropes just rehashed over and over.
Yeah. Synithia?
It's the storytelling. I mean, I remember watching Princess Agents, and I used to know the episode number, but like sitting on my bed bawling, like crying, because I'm like, how is he going to survive? This is so, it touches something that I don't get at other shows. And I forgot who said it first, but like I watch American shows and they're still great, but I'll be sitting there on episode 1 and I'll be with my husband. I'm like, oh, she's gonna be naked by like episode 3, or this is gonna happen. And then he's like, no, they're not. And then episode 3, it's exactly. I'm like, this is the same old. Let's rush it. Let's not really explain why we're putting these two together. Let's just have
Naked
nudity on
times.
screen. Yeah, naked time. I mean, I just watched the movie and I was like, why is this in the middle of the scene? But anyway, so is that storytelling. I'll finish it and I'll just be sitting on the couch or my bed and I'm just like digesting, like, how did they make me feel all the stuff that I feel? And sometimes I'll journal after I finish a really good drama to be like, what was it about the story that made me cry, laugh, just sit here in my feelings for about 5 or 10 minutes or longer afterwards, because it hit me, because I hope to, get a tiny pinch of that if I ever, can just sprinkle some of that in the stories I write. I like that storytelling, that emotional attachment, and also the one and done season. I like it. Whole story arc, one and done, and then my favorite person's off to a whole new story arc.
Yep.
And I get them again, one and done. So I do love that.
Okay. Seressia?
Like Synithia said, it's the storytelling. Just the way that they leave little clues throughout the story. Like, for instance, in What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, that was a light and fluffy one, but then you realize that she had some trauma, and that trauma was related to the love interest in it. And just the way that they handled that, I just thought it was like a surprising reveal to me, but the way that they handled it, I thought was very well done. and I just really love the banner. I love the banner between the love interest. I love their families. The fact that it is a well-rounded story. It's not just this person existing in a vacuum with no friends and don't go out, or it's always about work, work, work. Even though there are some ones that are just office romances, but I like that they are very well-rounded, and it brings you on an emotional ride all the way through. Just from you want to root for them, you want to be friends with them, you want to sit around and drink soju with them, and it's just, yeah, the way that they pull the story together and wrap it up, and something that seemed insignificant at the beginning, you get to the end and like, oh, now I understand why that was that way. So I really liked seeing that, and so the storytelling, definitely.
Okay, Maya?
I agree with what has been said so far, both about the visuals and the storytelling. And also for me, there's a third sort of cultural element of the influence of a society that values collectivism versus society that values individualism. You wind up with these male love interests who are truly compassionate and considerate and giving and do all of these wonderful things, and you just can't help but fall in love with them.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with what everybody has said. For the storytelling, for me, I think they are just so much better written than your average American TV show. One of my total pet peeves, and this is partly the writer in me, is I hate forced errors when the scriptwriters make the otherwise smart character do something totally stupid just to maneuver them into a position quickly so that something else can happen in the next episode instead of actually setting it up to make sense. And I see so much less, almost none of that, at least in the shows that I've watched. And it's such a breath of fresh air, because when that happens in an American show, I just want to throw the remote across the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it bugs me, because if they just took 2 minutes and a little bit of thought, they could have made it make sense instead of, well, he's suddenly stupid. So I
Yeah.
value the storytelling. They have better ghosts. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about the Korean and the Asian dramas is it's not the same rehashed Western European folklore and mythology.
Mhm.
I love all of that, but a vampire walks onto the screen, you've got about 3 choices, in an American show, what's going to happen. Man, they've got freaky
Fumios.
vampires.
Yes.
They've got these ghosts that move like crab spiders. They've, you don't know what's going to happen when their monsters come on, because they're not our monsters. And I mean, if you grew up with it, I'm sure they have more clues than we do. But for us, not growing up with that, this is all like new and fresh. It's like,
Yeah.
good, Karen, normal stuff. Give me the magic. So I love that it's not the same old, same old. All right, let's get into some recommendations. Well,
before that, something that Seressia said reminded me. It's like she was talking about how there's like you can be crying 1 minute and like laughing the next. They do a really good job of, even when you have characters who have trauma or they're going through like a really terrible time or whatever, they are very good at just very realistically inserting humor. Like I just finished My Dearest, and it was about a really horrible time in Korean history when the Qing dynasty came in and took over Joseon, and they were taking captives and women were being exploited, and even if they came into contact with anybody from the invaders, they were expected to unalive themselves because they would bring shame on their families, even if nothing had happened. So it's this really horrible, traumatic time in history. But then you have this fun banter between the main 2 characters in amongst all of this that kind of helps give you a breath and lighten the mood a little bit. And then you're back to, what's going on. So.
Well, and we should also mention the food, because there's so much food.
Yes.
And especially in the Korean dramas, the food is so good and it's so important to the story. And if you watch enough of them, suddenly you are looking up Korean restaurants and going out to
Yes.
find this food
Mm.
because you want to experience this life-changing food.
Yeah.
I may not be able to pronounce it, but I know what I like. So
Same.
Bibimbap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
jajangmyeon.
That's what I liked about Let's Eat. There's 3 series now. The 3rd series can't be found anywhere. But it was focused around food, and the characters grew and developed around meals. It was just an amazing thing, and being able to be exposed to all of the different foods, and the main character explained why the food was important or great or the right way to have it, and all of that. So I just really love that. Let's Eat. There's season 1 and 2. You can find those anywhere. And season 3 was supposedly on Amazon, but it's not available in our country right now. It's playing on CJENIM. I don't know how to pronounce it, or how to pronounce the network, but I found it on through the Roku.
But it's like
it's
food is
not
so
subtitled.
important to their culture. It's like you notice, like like here, you meet up with somebody, you go, "How you doing?" And there, it's like, "Did you eat?" And that stems back from like during the Korean War, when it was so hard to find food, and after that, it was like that was an expression of caring for people to make sure they had eaten.
Or
The
let's
whole
eat beef
art-
together. And the putting a piece of your food on their plate to show love.
the art of the bento box. I mean, when that is showcased,
Right.
Yeah.
I have a kid who I grew up watching the Iron Chef, that was the original one, where, you know, they were introducing the Iron Chef. And then just maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I found an anime that was set up like kind of like Iron Chef. It was like Cooking Wars or something. My kid found it, and it was like this. We got sucked into this show, and then next thing you know, like we've got 4 cookbooks on bento boxes and how to design them and put them together and make the little foods. But then you start reading the history behind it, and that like moms took such pride in what they put in the box and how they prepared it, because it was like when our parents would put like that little note, that little sticky note in the lunchbox with the smiley face. Their food was that note, that love language. And I love those shows. I found my way to that Let's Eat through the anime Cooking Wars show, and the father-son dynamic in that, where the son is like challenging the dad repeatedly. He is like, okay, I'm gonna beat him, we're gonna cook this, and he puts some of the craziest things in his food, like trying to either use these weird ingredients and either freak people out or get them wanting to try this thing, and some of the results are hilarious. But yeah, the food aspect, like I love to cook. I love being in my kitchen, and I do eat with chopsticks. We have the little bento sets up and the little tea setups and everything for having meals, just that style.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some recommendations here, and let's give 2 each time, and then we'll just keep going around till we run out of time. But Trish, give us 2 recommendations.
Okay. I'll give 1 C drama and 1 K drama. C drama, probably the first thing I watched that I immediately, when I finished it, started it again, was Love Between Fairy and Devil. I
Yes. Oh my
love
gosh.
this show so much. It's
Yes.
fabulous. And then K dramas, I loved Lovers of the Red Sky.
Okay. Layla.
I'm going to have to say, tell people to find anything that's got a good theme to it. I'm not one for show, you know, titles and names, and I can usually not finish a series. I jump around, but anything that's got like the 7 Samurai type theme to it, or like the Monkey King theme, where they're on that quest and there's all those components and you're watching the history and the dynamic between the characters. Anything like that, where it's got that good fantasy and that quest vibe to it, that'll suck you in like nothing before. I love a good quest.
Okay. Synithia.
I'm thinking because I wrote down everything I watched in 2023, but wasn't a lot I'd recommend for 2023. I'm gonna go back to Eternal Love is a C drama that, oh my gosh, that's so good.
Yes.
And which spin off the Pillow Book. Donghua, he's still my C drama boyfriend forever and ever. Um, and K drama, The Red Sleeve. Oh goodness, that
I haven't
was
watched that one yet. I heard it's
oh,
make
it's
you
gonna rip your
cry.
heart out. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not ready for that.
Stop at episode 16, but it's so good.
Seressia.
I know I was trying to type into Google the one that I was trying to remember. It's one that had the female god of war in it. And the guy that was just they spent several lifetimes together, and in each
Ooh.
lifetime she
Yeah.
killed him.
It's till the moon. Is that a C drama you mean?
Yes.
Oh, I watched that earlier this year.
Till the end of the moon?
Till
Was
the end
that
of the moon. Till the end of the moon.
Was that it?
That was the
The one? That might have been it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that one. I'm currently watching My Demon on Netflix.
Oh, me too.
I had just finished Let's
same.
Eat. I just told you guys about. And I did like Rise of the Phoenixes that Trish had mentioned earlier. Just because the suffering hero.
Mhm.
I just that's like candy for me. So
Yeah.
Okay. Maya.
For my C drama, I really recommend Legend of Fuyao. I completely fell in love with it because it's a really good example of a strong martial arts woman who starts off kind of in this low caste servant, like Anakin Skywalker level life. And she is pitted with, by fate, of course, the son, the crown prince of heaven, but he's in disguise on the mortal realm looking for this big bad that's coming. And just the beautiful balance of the male and female roles both fighting each other as equals, and the sort of tension and the beautiful fight scenes that built the tension into their relationship was just really, really well done. I still have the music on my phone.
What's the name of that one again?
Legend of Fuyao.
Yeah, I watched that. It was good.
And then K-drama I found on Netflix, Romance is a Bonus Book. I loved it.
Writers will love that one.
Yes.
Well, for C drama, The Untamed. Now it's a male romance. It's got 50 episodes. It is visually beautiful. It's based on a manga, and because it's Chinese, in the television series, they don't have the two characters end up married, clearly romantic. In the manga, that's very clear, and they do end up married. But I mean, there is subtext galore, so if you have eyes, you know what's going on here, and it is just beautiful. And there's a lot of martial arts, and there's a lot of spinning in midair, and gorgeous costumes, and crazy swordsmanship. But it's essentially a love story.
Yeah.
And then
Name of that one again?
Pardon?
The Untamed.
The Untamed.
Yeah. And then I've got to talk about Ken Porsche, which is a
spicy.
It's also a male romance. I think it is that Thailand?
It's Thai.
Thai. It's a mafia romance, and it's twisty and turny, but it is still definitely a romance, and it's hot. So
it is spicy.
It is very hot. Spicy. So I'm going to give you those two as my first choices. Back to you, Trish.
Oh, okay. We're doing it again. Let's see. C drama. I really like you. People were talking about battles and stuff. I love The Long Ballad. Plus the costumes. And I like that one because there's the lead character, the male character, it takes into the part of China, Asia, that the Khans were over. He was part of the Khanate. So I really enjoy that. Fabulous costumes in that. And let's see. trying to think of there's the thing is there's so many that it's like I've got my my MDL pulled up, you know. But well, somebody said My Demon, and I was really busy last year, so I didn't watch as many dramas as I normally do. But I really am enjoying My Demon, and I really liked Castaway Diva. That was really cute. You know, and it kind of brings in that part that you see in K-dramas a lot about where, you know, they knew each other as children kind of thing. And then somebody, I can't remember who mentioned this about how to bring in the backstory and stuff. Like the whole first episode of that one was them as kids, as teenagers, and those two teen actors were phenomenal in that first episode, and it was a great way to launch you into their story.
Layla, any other thoughts?
No, I mean, because for me, I like to drift between the manga and the real. That's I'm really more of a manga anime, and then I'll get to the real life dramas just because I find it really hard to finish a series that I have to watch visually. Though this one that you were talking about, The Untamed, I am going to be looking for that. I do love, like, give me a good backstory, give me a good ghost story, give me a good reincarnation tale. I love when characters have like missed each other over periods of time, or like have these brief brushes where they're together and then they're separated again, and you get to see these lifestyles and lifetimes that they've led leading up to bam, they've met. And it's like, you know, there's always that little span that they give them, and sometimes it's long and sometimes it's like seconds, where it's like, oh, we know we've been together before, we know, you know, our souls are entwined, and then they get ripped apart again, and it's like, man, okay, like how long is it going to be before the next arc? Like just that little tease. And I think that's the other thing too, is they're better with the teases and the Easter eggs, that you have to kind of look for those and pay attention. And I find myself like putting stuff down and actually paying attention when I do have even an anime or a drama on, versus like I've had, I think it's Chicago. It's one of the Chicagos I've had on for the last 3 days. I can't tell you what season I'm on. I can tell you that something burns down almost every episode, and it's good background.
Fire.
So yeah, the fact that I'll pay attention, I'll stop what I'm doing, and I'll put time aside to just sit and watch because of the storytelling, and because there's all those little things that you might find if you're paying attention.
Well, for those of us who don't speak the language, subtitles are a great reason to have to actually watch
Right.
the show. Synithia?
So for another C drama, Lost You Forever, which was this summer, and it was just my heart-wrenching 3 male lead interests. No idea who she's going to be with. A friend of mine has found the novel and she wants me to read it so I can, because season 2 is not out yet, because in China they said you can't have those really long dramas anymore. Now they have to only be 40 episodes, and then they said second season has to be a year later. So I'm waiting.
They have too many rules.
Too many rules. But oh my God. And she's like my favorite. I think it's Yang Ji. She's my favorite Chinese female actress. I love her, and the 3 male leads are awesome.
What is this called again?
Lost You Forever.
Lost You Forever.
Yeah, I cried over that a lot this summer. And then when we talk about spicy dramas, the K-drama Hit the Spot. I can't remember if that's, I think it's on Viki. I don't think it's on Netflix, but they did a really great job. It's a drama that is about spicy times and relationships, but again, showing how different from American dramas. They did a really good job of talking about female intimacy and women's sexuality. We're more than 10 minutes in. And I felt like it was a fully fleshed story of her, you know, taking ownership of her pleasure, of her, you know, letting her ex-boyfriend know, you know, this is not my fault that, you know, I'm not completing at the end of our sessions. It's partly, and then her exploring that. And so I was really impressed with how they did that, told a really kind of spicy story, but then also like put that female empowerment through the story as well.
Do you think them having that year between leaves them that time for like that writing that they're doing, that in depth that they get to?
I don't know, because they film it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Season 2 is done.
It's just the government,
It's
like,
right.
yeah, doing their, like, we're in charge kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
like what we were saying with the Untamed earlier, like even though it's a BL drama, it has to be bromance, it can't really be a BL drama.
And then
Yeah.
they stopped it. They were like, it's too many BL dramas. And so some of them that were even filmed won't even see the light of day. They're like, all right, that's enough.
Cat and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seressia?
For me, some recommendations. Anything with Dylan Wong in it.
Oh
C
God.
dramas. So basically, Love Between Fairy and Devil, Miss the Dragon, which I didn't like the ending, but it made sense.
Yeah.
Meteor Garden, which was their take on Boys Over Flowers, which was the iteration that I really enjoyed the most. What else has he been in? Basically, if there's something that he's been in, I'm watching it.
His new one,
Same
Only
with
for
the
Love.
lead of, and same with the lead for My Demon. He's been in Nevertheless,
Song Kang.
That
Sweet
dude.
Home, which I haven't watched because it's a horror, and I know Synithia has.
No, I haven't.
You haven't watched that?
Oh, I've seen the
Okay.
first
That's right.
season.
Oh, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one's not for me, but yeah, I watch anything with him in it.
Okay. And Maya?
For another C drama, there's a really cute one called Love 020, and it's about some college kids playing in an online MMO world and playing a fantasy game. And what I loved about it was the male love interest falls in love with the main character because of how good she is at the game. And I just thought that was a very sweet, geeky romance story, and also sort of a subtle Three Kingdoms reference at the same time.
Okay. And I'm going to toss out Alchemy of Souls
Yeah.
and
Good.
Goblin, which are just, there's reincarnation, there's magic, there's just watch them. They're wonderful. All right, folks, lightning round. I want to go around, let everybody get a chance to say where we can find you online. And if you have a new, recent, or upcoming book, please tell us about it. Trish?
I just redid my website at trishmilburn.com. You can find all the information there about my Idol in Love K-pop series, K-pop romance series. So far, there's 9 books. There'll be more to come. And then also the very first novella in my Could Have Been a K-drama novella series is there. I'm getting ready to start work on the second one of those. So,
all right. Layla?
You can find me at Layla Dorine, author at wix.com, and pretty much anywhere on social media. I had 2 books come out in December, Daddy for Christmas, Royu, and AJ's Secret, which was another Christmas story. Those just came out in December. I'm so bad with names, I can't even remember the titles of my own books. But those 2 just came out in December, and then I do have 2 February releases that are coming that will fit in there. And if you want something a little different, I have Midnight Musicals and Coffee Ice Cream and Love and Shimmering Chartreuse. Those are 2 of my Asian American characters, and one is a martial artist who was at one point in time making a way towards the national team, and then he was in an accident. And so yeah, that's been a fun one to write. That one's been out for about a year now, and look for a bunch in the upcoming year.
Awesome. Synithia?
SynithiaWilliams.com. All my books are there. My most recent book was Secret to a Southern Wedding that came out this past summer. The second book in that series will be out this May, I believe. So again, soapy romances, if you enjoy that. Social media, I am at Synithia W everywhere, and most of my K-drama, C-drama meltdowns are on TikTok. So if I'm watching one and I'm having a moment, it's usually a TikTok video that will, so if you want to follow that as well, I talk about books over there, but as well as C-dramas and K-dramas.
Okay. Seressia.
Find me on the web at seressia.com. My website just got recently revamped. Also mainly at Seressia on social media, but Instagram is at Seressia Glass, and I think TikTok is as well. And my latest release was Game On, which was a gamer romantic comedy, and that came out December 12th.
Nice. Maya.
You can find me on the web at mayarenee.com and mayapreisler.com, and pretty much across all social media as at Maya Preisler.
All right. I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbrice.com. I'm on most of the social medias under one or both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. My latest was Signs and Wonders, which is in my Witchbane series with Morgan Brice. Well, folks, thank you so much for being with us. This has been a lot of fun, and I think we should do this again because we didn't cover most of the territory, but we'll be back. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more romance on Continual, so we'll see you online.